Hello and welcome to episode 45 of the Siteshed podcast. My name is Matt Jones and I just want to say thank you for sharing your earbuds with us today again. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about building a database. And this is a pretty important topic because at the end of the day, it means you are building an asset into your company. And we've touched on it a little bit in the past. However, today I'm going a little bit more in depth with it. And we're also giving you some technical tools that you can use if you so wish. Quick shout out to Ferrari from the United States. He left us a review in Stitcher saying, "Hey Matt, I've been listening to all of your podcasts while working in the office. Everything so far has been super beneficial to any tradie or trade-based business owner. Your presenting has been professional and insightful, and you're asking questions of your guests that we are all interested to hear. Can't recommend the podcast highly enough. Keep up the good work and looking forward to your future podcasts." Thank you, Ferrari. Much appreciated. Folks, we love these reviews. If you can please leave us reviews, that would be fantastic. We're doing these podcasts for nothing, and all we ask in return is a review. So head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and you can leave us a review there. It helps us spread the word, and it keeps us in the good books with the likes of Apple. So anyway, that is enough from me. We are going to dive right into this episode. I hope you enjoy it. If you need any more information after, you can either post a note in the show notes, post a comment in the show notes. You can get us on social media, or you can send us your questions to enquiries@thesiteshed.com. That's inquiries with an E. Okay, let's dive right in.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Siteshed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello and welcome back to Toolbox Talks. My name is Matt Jones, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about building a database. Now, we have spoken about this a little bit in previous episodes. However, recently, more than ever, I've been coming across scenarios where, people are getting to that stage in their business where they're looking at driving some marketing, but they don't have a database built. So they're effectively starting from scratch when it comes to marketing. So what this podcast is really directed to anybody who is in business. It's not necessarily relative to trades. Realistically, if you have a business or you're in business, then you should be in some way, shape or form actively developing and growing a database. So I suppose the reasons why we want to start growing and developing this database is because, there's a couple of reasons, but I suppose I really want to talk primarily about two of them. Firstly, what you're doing is you're developing an asset. So in previous episodes, we spoke about, setting up or building assets within your company that can potentially be acquired. Now, that might seem a little bit far off for you. However, the fact remains that when somebody does come to acquire a company, or if you're out there, you're looking to purchase a company, typically you're purchasing two things. Firstly, you're purchasing the database. So it could be a list of clients, it could be a list of people that you're marketing towards, whatever it is, it's some form of a database. The other thing that you're acquiring there is normally systems and processes that run that business. So it could be, training programs or onboarding sequences or whatever it is, like anything that basically helps that business run. That's the other thing that's being purchased. So building a database into your company is effectively building value into your business, and it's giving you something that can potentially be purchased by another organization down the track. So the other reason that you would be building a database is because it gives you the opportunity to communicate with existing customers firstly, but then people that may potentially not yet be existing customers. It allows you to sort of get in their face a little bit more. Chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you potentially have subscribed to our newsletter, and you're getting this sent out through the weekly newsletter, and you're clicking on the link. So that is effectively an example of how a database is being built. I'm always adding value to you guys with these podcasts. So, you're coming on board, you're subscribing to the database because you're getting something out of it. And the same applies to you guys out there. When you're building these databases, you want to make sure that, especially if you're talking with people that are not yet customers, in some way you've got to be adding value to them. So it's not about sending out your latest promotion every couple of weeks or every month or whatever it is. It's not always about selling, it's about adding value. So, what can you give to your potential customer that's going to make them want to be part of your community? So when should we be doing this? Well, I mean, realistically, you should be doing it now. There's no, the ideal time to start building a database is yesterday. Like, get out there and get it done. And so we're going to talk about a few different ways that we can do that. Where can you build a database? Well, I suppose primarily off your website. So you can have people visit it when visitors land on your website. Is there a way that you have allowed for them to become part of your community? Is there a way, can they subscribe to something? Can they download a document where they're exchanging an email address for whatever it is? It might be, if you're a landscape gardener, it could be something like a downloadable document, how to best maintain your garden coming into winter months, something like that. If you're an electrician, it might be, the top 5 ways to save power around your house, something like that. So when somebody lands on the website, they can click on that. They can click on that download and then exchange for that bit of material there. You're actually getting their email address, which is allowing you to communicate regularly with them. And the reason we do that as well is because by communicating with people and adding value to them, come the time they may need a service that you offer, if you're fresh in their mind, then there's a pretty good chance that you're the one they're going to call. It's not about like spamming them per se. You don't have to be, sending them out daily emails or, whatever. Like, you've just got to be, if you're fresh in their mind and they're actually getting something out of it, then why wouldn't they want to engage you? Social media is another way. You can build a database through social media. Social media is a good tool to build your database, in my opinion, as long as you're getting people back to your website. So at the end of the day, you can't take likes down to the bank and cash them. How many Facebook pages, how many Facebook likes you have, is kind of, I suppose, I won't say irrelevant, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not as important as having people subscribe to an actual database, like a mailing list. But social media is a good way that you can feed people into that sales funnel. So, if you look at the Site Shed, for example, so our social media channels, I'm always creating podcasts and then I'm sending out the link to the podcasts, which is sending people back to the website. So I don't go and create content specifically on, say, for example, Facebook. I would create the content on my on the website that I own, and then I would send out the link to Facebook. So if people click on it, they come back to the website where then they can sign up for our Toolbox Talks and they get sent these episodes every week. So that's an example. Invoicing is another way where you can start building your database, and we'll talk about a few programs in a little bit. But if you're out there and you're creating, paper invoices, I would say it's probably time to evolve because, there's a lot of cloud-based solutions out there which, first of all, they clear up the paper element. So, I mean, it's just clutter that you do not need in your business. It also allows you to do things in real time. So if you are on a job or, you're out on site, you can pretty much invoice from right there, so you haven't got to wait till you get back in the office and you're not spending hours and hours every night invoicing on jobs that you've done throughout the day. So I would encourage you to look into some cloud-based invoicing products, and we'll talk about them in a little bit. But effectively, what you're doing is you're creating an invoice and then you're emailing it to the customer. So by emailing it, you're again building a database because you're getting an email. So there's networking events. There's networking in general. It doesn't have to necessarily be events. You should always be networking if you're in business. You should always be out there talking to people, and you never know where it could lead. I always get business cards, and then I always enter those business cards into my customer relationship management software, they may not be a qualified lead yet. They may potentially never, ever even become a sale, but I'm always building that database and always adding those people to that list because you never know where it can go. Inbound calls. So if you're receiving phone calls for your business, and I imagine the majority of you would or should be or would like to be, then those calls that you're receiving, regardless of whether or not they turn into a job, the information that you get from that customer should be saved somewhere. You should be capturing those details because somebody that has called you, regardless of whether or not they've engaged your services, they've called you because they're interested in something that you offer. So by letting that person go and not capturing their details, you're pretty much eliminating any chance you will ever have from there forward of communicating with them. Whereas if somebody calls up, they're asking you about a certain service, may not be ready to engage you at that point in time. However, if you've got their details, then you can start communicating with them so that come the time they may be ready, you're fresh in their mind. Marketing and advertising, obviously, that is a prime way to build your database. Again, typically what you should be doing with your marketing and advertising is driving people back to your website. So if you're running it might be a promotion on, I don't know, a seasonal campaign. You might be coming into winter. You might be wanting to run a promotion on getting your hot water heaters checked or getting your heating appliances checked or whatever it is. That promotion should be driving people back to a specific landing page on your website. And the reason we do that is because if you're talking about a specific campaign and you're driving people back to your homepage, they have to then go searching for the product that you've been talking about. And that is a bad user experience. So whenever you're driving marketing or whenever you're driving promotions or whatever it is, you always want to make sure that the promotions you're driving are sending people back to a landing page that is specifically talking about that product. Okay. All right. So how would we do this? Obviously, as we said, so how would we start building this database? Well, yeah, I mean, promotions is one. So as we just touched on, I just gave you an example, and that's one way that you could entice people to enter some kind of a list. Offers, obviously, if you've got like a special offer that you want to talk about or you want to get out of the marketplace, then that's another way you could possibly entice people to come and join your community. So call to actions in general. I mean, if you go to pretty much any bit of material that you put out there should have some kind of call to action tied to it, whether that's a call us now or whether it's a fill in this web form, something at the base level, something like that, or you could get a little bit more specific when you're talking about certain promotions that you're putting out. So if we use the example that we just used before about getting your heaters checked coming into winter, then your call to action for that specific promotion may be something along the lines of fill in this form and use this promotional code to receive 15% off your heater servicing within the next month or whatever it is, within the month of May. So that's kind of a more specific call to action that is tying to that promotion, and that's a good way to do it because it's less generic and it's more focused. So you'll probably get better conversion and referrals as well. So I mean, if you're a trade-based organization out there, I know a lot of you get a large majority of your work from referrals, which is fantastic. However, make sure that, once again, when you get that referral is getting entered and saved somewhere, regardless of the outcome. Obviously, they're being referred to you because they have a general need for something you offer. So make sure you're capturing that detail. So let's talk a little bit about some of the tools that you can use for capturing information, but then building a database. So at the very basic level, it's something that you probably all do every single day of your lives, and you don't even realize you're doing it, is let's take your phone, for example. So if you're adding contacts into your phone, then you're effectively building, at a very, 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 very basic level, you're effectively building a database. I'm sure you've all been through that rigmarole, or people that have at some stage lost their phone and as a result lost all their numbers. Hopefully none of you will ever have that problem again, because now, of course, you can synchronize and back up all of your contacts. And if you're not doing that, you should be doing that. And I would encourage you as a very first action step to be figuring out how you do that. If it's an iPhone, I know you can just connect your contacts to iCloud, and then that will save them into your iCloud account, which means if you ever lose your phone, it makes no difference. All of your contacts are saved in the cloud, and you can retrieve them just by buying a new device, logging into your account, and then it all downloads. Google Gmail as well. So if you're using Google Apps for Business, if you're not using Google Apps for Business, you should be, because it's a fantastic product. But again, the same thing goes. If you're entering contacts into your Google account, it doesn't matter what device you're on. If you lose your computer, if your house blows up, whatever it is, it makes no difference. All those contacts are going to be saved on the cloud. So it doesn't matter. You can be in a hotel in who knows where, Istanbul, and you can log into a hotel computer. You can log into your Google account, and all of your contacts are going to be saved in there. So Excel is another one, and I'm certainly not promoting this, but I'm just saying that it is a way that you can capture details. At the end of the day, anything is better than nothing. So if you've got your contacts saved in an Excel spreadsheet, then it's better than nothing. So moving on to, I suppose, some more complex or more specific products or types of products. We've got CRM, which is customer relationship management. Now, it's my firm belief that there shouldn't be a business on the planet that isn't using some form of CRM. And I'm just going to go through a few different types, because there's, at the end of the day as well, you've got, if we talk about email marketing platforms, so email marketing platforms are, let's take it back to the website where we were saying how you download this document on how to best maintain your garden coming into winter. As soon as somebody fills that out, ideally what should happen is when they fill out, enter their details and click submit, they would then get sent an email through your email marketing platform, which it contains the link or the document itself. And when they do that, they actually they opt into a list within that email marketing platform. So they've actually subscribed to it, because you would all know of the spam laws. You can't actually, there's a bit of a grey area here. I don't know the full details behind it. Maybe we can, if any of you out there that might have a bit of a legal background have any idea, you could probably just email in and we'll get a bit of clarification around this. However, I know you shouldn't really be sending people out emails if they haven't subscribed to a list in some way, shape or form. So by tying in that call to action to the email marketing platform, they're subscribing to that list. So it's all above board and it's all legal. So there's basic tools. A lot of you may have heard of MailChimp. That's sort of like an entry-level product. There's other tools like Aweber, and then you sort of move into the more advanced. So they're good, those tools, for really, basic sort of level email capture. But then if you want to get like more into automation and you want to get more into like sending out newsletters and campaigns and doing all that kind of stuff, you may find you might outgrow those ones relatively quickly. So you might want to move into something a little bit more advanced like Active Campaign or Drip, something like that. So then there's CRM. It's like itself. So basically something that manages that relationship with your customer. So I see some typical traits of a CRM would be, obviously you're capturing all their contact details. You might be able to record information relating to jobs that you've done with them. You might be able to record personal details, things like, spouse's name, date of birth. There's no real limit on what you can capture in a CRM. It could be everything down to the name of their dog. And some of the tools, and there's so many tools out there available that offer CRM. And I mean, all you got to do is jump onto Google and just search, CRM tools, and you'll probably get thousands pop up in front of you, or maybe not thousands, but you'll get a lot. Some of the ones that I've used and I like, and I'm currently using one called Podio, Podio. That's quite good. There's Pipedrive, there's Base, there's Teamwork, Capsule CRM, and then you sort of move more into then there's some big scale CRM programs. So you've got the likes of Infusionsoft, HubSpot, it's another one, Ontraport. So those ones they're sort of more all inclusive, and they all include as well email marketing capabilities. So they're sort of more of like a whole solution, as opposed to more just email marketing or just CRM. I question whether trade-based organizations really need that level of CRM. I think for the better part, as long as you're capturing details and you may need to have some sort of email automation set up, then I think that's probably enough for most companies. However, I know I do have a lot of colleagues and clients out there that do use the bigger CRM programs, because they do a lot of marketing, and they've got a lot of lead triggers and automation sequences and all different stuff set up. So it just depends on the business. But however, I would suggest to start with, you probably will be fine with something like Active Campaign. And then of course we move into, so depending on what your business is and depending, what it is you do in what vertical, there's tools that are available, which are things like job management and project management. So if you're a company that, say you're a maintenance or an emergency-based electrician, or you might be a plumber or whatever. So basically, if you're in a vertical that does multiple jobs per day, so if you're a maintenance plumber, you might be doing 6 or 7 jobs a day. You might have 5 to 10 guys that are working for you. You want to make sure that you have some sort of program that is looking after and managing those projects. So that would be job management. And if you want to hear more about job management, you can go back to episode 8, where I'm talking with Clinton and from TradiePad, and we are talking specifically about job management. So you get a better idea of what that is. And then there's project management. So project management is more suited towards companies that are running jobs like, if you're a builder, for example, okay, so you're running a project that might last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12 months. so you're not necessarily doing multiple jobs per day. You're doing more, maybe, like longer standing projects. So that would be project management. And again, both of those tools, job management and project management, they allow you to build a database because your customers' details are going into it. You're capturing everything. You're capturing all details about the project and like history, and you can set reminders and you can do all this kind of stuff. So, one of the reasons why job management is handy for service-based businesses is because you can set reminders. So if you go and do a block drain for, Mrs. Smith who lives down the road, if you know that in 6 months' time her drain's going to be chock-a-block full of tree roots again, you can set reminders in your job management system where it reminds you to contact her, get back in touch with her, and go back out there and clear her sewer before it surcharges. And there's even ways that you can automate that as well. I mean, some of these email automation programs, it may not be as personal, and it may. I think you'd probably be better off, maybe in many instances, making that phone call. However, there is a way that you could potentially set up an email reminder saying, "Hey, Ms. Smith, it's been 6 months since our last visit. It's probably a good time to come out there and re-clear that drain, as it will definitely be getting blocked again," something like that. So some of the tools for job management, I mean, look, again, there is a lot of them. You've got your ServiceMate, your Tradeifys, your Invoice to Goes, and then there's your project management tools, which could be things like Workflow Max, and there's a whole bunch out there. Again, if you want more information about job management or project management, go back and check out episode 8 and 9 of the Toolbox Talks. So that'll be the siteshed.com /008 and /009 respectively, and then that'll give you a bit more information about them, and you can always get in touch with the guys at tradiepad.com.au. They're very handy in that regard. The other way you can capture data is through accounting. So as we touched on before, instead of creating paper invoices for your customers, a much better way to be doing it is to be using an application on your phone or your iPad or whatever, which is allowing you to create an invoice in a digital format and then email that invoice to the customer. It's much more efficient. It allows you to keep track of it through reminders. Once it's entered into the system, it's all sitting there in front of you. You're not losing bits of paper. It's just a much smoother way to be doing things. There's programs like Xero Accounting, and Xero is an amazing cloud-based product. I highly recommend. It's very well suited for tradies as well. However, there's also many of you would be familiar with MYOB, Mind Your Own Business. That's another really good product. But there's a company called Intuit, and they do a program called QuickBooks. There's FreshBooks. There's a whole bunch of different products out there. I would encourage you to perhaps even speak to your accountant and see if they can recommend any, because at the end of the day, it will make their life so much easier. And I would probably go as far as saying as well, if you speak to an accountant that doesn't think cloud accounting is a good idea for you, it might be time to get a new accountant, because at the end of the day, this is definitely the way forward for you for any business, and it will save you so much time, and it will save your accountant a lot of time too. I know we've had clients in similar scenarios where they're using these old school accountants and they just they weren't interested in evolving and adopting these new solutions. So we helped them move across to a more modern firm, which they are loving, because now, of course, they can, it's saving them time, and it is helping them build their database. So that's pretty much a general overview of building a database. Action steps, as I said before, just get out there and adopt something. Get out there and implement something. You don't have to be out there spending a lot of money. However, if when you're looking at these different solutions, put them in perspective. Sit down and think. Work out how long it's taking you to do your invoicing in the evenings, how long it's the time it's taking, the effort it's taking. Work out what your follow-up sequence is like. Are you actually following these jobs up, or are they getting lost in the abyss? And then put that into perspective when you look at a product. Obviously, I'm just going to use a figure as an example, but if you're using a product that's costing you even $100 a month or $150 a month, what's your time worth? I mean, if you're out there billing, $150 an hour or whatever it is, then all you got to do is save yourself 1 hour's worth of time, and it's made it worth it for you. So just put things in perspective. Sometimes, I find people, they'll look at the cost of something and they'll be like, wow, that's way too expensive. And then when we weigh up what it's actually costing them not to have that program in place, it's not even a comparison. Like, it's not even worth talking about. So just get out there and adopt something, start somewhere. I would suggest if you were from an email point of view, at the base level, if you're just starting out, maybe just set up a MailChimp account. I mean, they're free; it doesn't cost you anything. The basic level, or even if you can set up maybe an active campaign account, which will cost you about $9 a month. But at the end of the day, if you're building that database, then I think you're building an asset that's going to be worth a lot more than $9 a month. So. All right, that's all I wanted to say on this topic. If you have any more questions about building a database, if you've got any more questions about CRM or job management or project management, just post them in the show notes or send an email, inquiries@thesiteshed.com. It's inquiries with an E, and we will either point you in the right direction or answer those for you. Alternatively, you can jump on the Facebook page there. If you're not part of the private Facebook group, jump on in there. You can post questions in that if you want, and we'll have either myself or another one of the expert panelists reply and give you some advice in that regard. So that's all I wanted to say today. I will speak to you in the following episodes, and that is a wrap. So if you haven't already, head across to thesiteshed.com and register for our Toolbox Talks, where you'll be regularly sent great episodes just like this straight to your inbox, so you'll never miss one. If you want to join the community, you can head across to thesiteshed.com/members, where for a small monthly fee, you'll get access to regularly updated training material, as well as access to our forum, where you can mingle and collaborate with trade-based business owners just like you from all over the world. If you're enjoying this podcast, please head across to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us spread the word and reach the masses. Likewise, if you know anyone that might benefit from the content we create, then please go ahead and share this with them.
You've been listening to Toolbox Talks by The Site Shed. For more great content just like this, head across to thesiteshed.com and join the amazing community of savvy trade-based business owners.